This video shows how a logged-in teacher user can enter scores for student test questions that require teacher scoring. It also shows how the teacher can obtain an individual test report and view the results. Some assessments on AWSchoolTest require no teacher scoring. All of the questions are scored automatically by the system. For example, SELA Reading Level D or Arithmetic Testing Online are scored entirely by the system, and results are available instantly after students finish a test. Other tests, however, are partially composed of open response questions, such as speaking items or paragraph writing, with responses that must be scored by the teacher. For such tests, the system combines its own scoring of the multiple choice items with the scores provided by the teacher to provide overall results. First, I will show how a teacher enters scores for the teacher-scored items on a SELA Reading Level A extension test. The student, Michelle Ying, who is not a real student, has already finished the student portion of the test. As the teacher, I could have entered my scores in real time while the student was taking the test if I had logged in on a separate computer. But I chose to write down my scores and enter them in later. I start from the main My Class page. The first page I see after login. Near the top of the page, I click on the Teacher Scored Items link. I click on the drop-down menu and I see any tests taken by my students that are awaiting teacher scoring. I select the SELA Reading Level A extension test. Below, I see a list of students to whom I have assigned this test and that require teacher scoring: Carmen Torres and Michelle Ying. I can enter my scores for a student in the fields to the right of the student's name. At the top of each of the columns to the right is the maximum number of points that the student can earn for each item. In this case, most of the items can be scored either a 0 or 1. The last item, however, is worth up to 4 points. To know how to score these items reliably, teachers can obtain training on using the SELA scoring rubrics and sample student responses illustrating each possible score. I enter my scores for Michelle Ying. Michelle did well on her test. If I wish to view any of the questions, I can click on the View Information link next to a field. Once I have entered all of my scores for a student, I click on the Submit button in that student's row. I am asked to confirm because these scores are final. Once the scores are submitted for a test, the student's row disappears on the page. Since the student had previously answered the multiple choice items, the overall results are available right now for me to view. I click on the My Class link to go back to my class roster. In the row for student Michelle Ying, I click on her test history. On her individual student test history page, I see a listing of her tests. I click on Test Report for the assessment that I just scored. I can now see the overall test report, which the system has already generated. In the top section, called Summary Results, there is the student's name and other identifying information. Below that are Michelle's overall results. A second section, called Content Categories, provides more detailed diagnostic breakouts of the results. For each reported skill category, the report indicates the number of points Michelle earned out of the total possible points in that category. To the right, a simple bar graph illustrates this information in a visual format. The additional detail allows me, as the teacher, to identify skill areas where Michelle may need additional instruction or practice. I interpret this information in light of other knowledge I possess about Michelle's skills, relying on my professional judgment as a teacher. Thank you for watching this demonstration of adding teacher scoring and viewing a student's individual test report.